Hi guys, thank you for joining me. Today I want to talk about the woke mind virus and how it's destroying our country. Woke is a virus that infects a person's brain and forces them to see everything through the prism of race. It's found predominantly in white liberals, and it divides people between the oppressor and the oppressed. It's invaded us on so many different levels, but today I want to talk about three. First is medicine. Did you know that doctors who take the Hippocratic Oath today are forced to acknowledge how bad white people are?
We, the students of the University of Minnesota Twin Cities Medical School class of 2026, we commit to uprooting the legacy and perpetuation of structural violence deeply embedded within the healthcare system. We recognize inequities built by past and present traumas rooted in white supremacy and all forms of oppression.
Who cares about cancer research, right? Let's make everything about race. And that oath and medical training has made its way into treatment. Do you know that white people are denied care in hospitals simply because of their race?
Race had become a deciding factor in the distribution of critical health care in this country. Several states made it explicit. Whites would go last in the COVID vaccine queue, regardless of need. Physicians, the FDA explained, should consider, quote, race and ethnicity as they administer treatments. And so physicians are doing that across the country. In Utah, COVID patients are triaged by a scoring system that determines whether or not they qualify for these potentially life-saving antibody treatments. Look at this chart. It shows the scoring system. You'll notice that race often counts more than physical health. The state of Utah, for example, gives 2 points to anyone simply for not being white. You win if you're not white. If you have congestive heart failure at the same time, you get 1 point. So if you're a white congestive heart failure patient, that's not enough for you. In New York, writes Aaron Sabarium in a shocking new piece for the Washington Free Beacon, quote, racial minorities are automatically eligible for scarce COVID-19 therapeutics, regardless of age or underlying conditions. It doesn't matter what kind of health they're in. All that matters is their skin color. Whites don't qualify.
Now let's talk about law. Do you remember when Ketanji Brown Jackson was nominated to the Supreme Court? Remember the one who couldn't define what a woman is? Well, this man, Isla Shapiro, who was the executive director of Georgetown Law School, had hoped that Biden would nominate a different judge, a man named Srinivasan, who, if you notice, is also a person of color, but in the twisted mind of the righteous white liberal, when compared to a black female, the black female would always win. This is how the law students at Georgetown University, again, law students, not high school students, this is how they greeted the director of their school when he went to give a lecture. Black lawyers matter! 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 Black lawyers matter, right? So we got white people suck in medicine and now white people suck in law. It is always about race. In fact, some of the psychotics are actually thrilled that 3 of the 4 corrupt lawyers who are prosecuting President Trump are black. Listen to Joy Reid.
For me, there is something wonderfully poetic about the fact that despite the fact that even if convicted, he's not going to go to prison, the first person to actually criminally prosecute Donald Trump is a black Harvard grad, the very kind of person that his former staff, the people who worked for him, Stephen Miller, et cetera, want to never be at Harvard law school. But he was. And he came out and graduated. He's prosecuting you, Donald. And a black woman is doing that same exact thing in Georgia. And a black woman forced you to pay a $175 million fine. Donald Trump is being held to account by the very multicultural, multiracial democracy that he's trying to dismantle. And for me, there's something poetic and actually wonderful about that. It says something good about our country that we're still capable of having that happen. Go DEI. My DEIs are bringing it home on today.
You hear that? There's something really great about our country when a white man is prosecuted by someone black. Before I said the woke mind virus usually infects white liberals, Joy Reid is an exception. She's just a plain racist who hates white people, which is why she has her own show on MSNBC. The third area I want to talk about is how the woke mind virus has affected business. We all know what happened to Bud Light. Here's a short I uploaded to my channel. Take a look.
This month, I celebrated my day 365 of womanhood, and Bud Light sent me possibly the best gift ever, a can with my face on it. Love ya! Cheers! Go team!
It's also infected Target, where they are now selling chest binders for teens and onesies for trans infants. So here's my question. What do all of these kids have in common? What do students in law school, medical school, and business school, what do they all have in common? They all went to undergrad. They all went to college first, and that's where the indoctrination takes place. Is it any wonder we have all of these kids taking over college campuses now? They're completely clueless, they're spoiled, and they just want something to bitch about. They are addicted to melodrama. First it was BLM, then it was Trans Lives Matter, then it was Illegal Lives Matter, and today it's about Palestine. Tomorrow it will be about something else. They don't even know, they don't even care because they're clueless. How do I know that they're clueless? Because you see them with signs like this. They have no idea how gays are treated in Muslim countries. If you're gay in Palestine, you go to jail for 10 years. And if you're gay in Gaza, the punishment is death. And this is how it is in all the Muslim countries. And yet they sit there and show solidarity with Muslims and take over the school campus in prayer.
This is we're having an Islamic prayer being held. Now, this is the quietest of the protests around the country. Most of them were not really like this. Outside of the White House Correspondents' Dinner, there was more protesting going on.
Could you go back and play the Islamic prayer for me, please? If you happen to be watching The Blaze, I just want to describe the Islamic prayer here. It's everybody's on a prayer rug there at Columbia University. It's a beautiful, beautiful scene. So you have people, on a prayer rug. We had to go to the Supreme Court to get the coach to be able to pray, by himself on the field after a football game. But this is totally cool. And the nice thing is they're including women in the call to prayer, which is very popular in the Middle East. They love it when women get down and pray right alongside the men. It's wonderful.
Glenn Beck is talking about Coach Joseph Kennedy. Do you remember him? He was a Christian football coach who prayed with students after a football game. The school told him he needed to stop that because prayer is not allowed on public schools. He refused, so the school fired him.
Bremerton assistant coach was back under the Friday night lights for the first time after an 8-year legal battle over praying. But his return to coaching is short-lived. Coach Joe Kennedy sent in his resignation to Bremerton High School early this morning after coaching just one game.
Last Friday, assistant coach Joe Kennedy returned to the Bremerton High School football field, where he once again took a knee to pray on the 50-yard line. He lost his job around 8 years ago during a controversy over his public post-game prayers. The legal battle wound up before the U.S. Supreme Court, which held that his practice was protected by the Constitution. Less than a week later, Kennedy sent in his resignation, talking to us by phone about the decision.
We knew that it wasn't going to be a picnic for anybody. Seemed like both sides were put into a weird situation, being forced, to take me back, and we forced them on way back.
The school also gave him a set of rules, which he said included keeping a 25-foot kid-free space around him during prayer.
There's a 25-foot bubble around here that is the prayer zone.
They wanted me to wait 20 minutes after the game to do it, and I'm just like, I'm not doing any of those things.
So even after he won, he still lost because he was forced to resign. Schools do not want you praying on school grounds unless you're Muslim. Now, I know Columbia is a private institution, but this is happening in public colleges as well. When these students weren't praying, they were destroying property, attacking Jews, and refusing to let them enter the school.
We're going this way. You guys have closed the entrance. We are UCLA students. I have my ID right here. I'm being blocked off, not by the security guard, but by you two. You three. Oh, look, they're making their burger while I'm going this way. Excuse me. This is what they do. Everybody, look at this. Look at this. I'm a UCLA student. I deserve to go here. We pay tuition. This is our school. And they're not letting me walk in.
And they didn't just block students. The management of Columbia University revoked this professor's access pass. Why? Because he's Jewish.
Card has been deactivated? Why?
Can you back up, please?
Wait. Everybody, my card has been deactivated. This is Cass Holloway, the COO. This is Gerald Lewis. They were in the meeting where I asked them if Hamas is a terror organization, and they couldn't say that it is a terrorist organization. Why? I'm a professor. Why can I?
Shai,
No. Speak out loud so the media.
Shai, we are willing to take you to the math lawn.
No, I am a professor here.
Alumnus. We have a
Whoa, everybody quiet. I am a professor here. I have every right to be everywhere on campus. You cannot let people that support Hamas on campus and me, a professor, not go on campus. Let me in now.
They didn't let him in. And speaking of professors, here they are forming a barricade around their coddled students to prevent police from reaching them. Here they are at Columbia. And they did the same thing at Fordham. Do you hear the professors chanting NYPD KKK? Is it any wonder we have the students we do? And it's not just Ivy League schools. Watch this video put out by the professors of CUNY.
We're CUNY faculty. Of course we're out here in the Gaza Solidarity Encampment.
We're CUNY faculty. Of course we support the 5 demands.
We're CUNY faculty. Of course we know anti-Zionism isn't anti-Semitism.
We're CUNY faculty. Of course we support the liberation of Palestine.
We're CUNY faculty, and of course we support the demand that CUNY divest from Israeli occupation and apartheid.
We're CUNY faculty. Of course we fight for a free CUNY and a free Palestine.
We're CUNY faculty. Of course we follow our students' lead in the fight for Palestinian liberation.
Did you notice they all look a certain way? I can't say anything more than that, but I'm pretty sure you know what I'm talking about. Now you know why we have these coddled snowflakes running around school worrying about microaggressions and their safe spaces. And speaking of safe spaces, does that apply to everyone? Do all students have the right to feel safe while in school?
No! They want our people dead! They want us killed!
And so part of it.
How is it allowed? How are you allowing this? Why are you putting us so They want us dead! Please end it, please!
She was on campus standing just a few feet away from the animals calling for her death. And the security guard did nothing. All of a sudden, Columbia is a big supporter of free speech. And what has Biden said about this?
Do you condemn the anti-Semitic protests on college campuses?
I condemn the anti-Semitic protests. That's why I've set up a program to deal with that. I also condemn those who don't understand what's going on with the Palestinians.
Joe's like, I condemn both sides. If this were a bunch of white students, let's say wearing hoods, surrounding a bunch of black students chanting death to the blacks, or worse, death to the N-word, do you think Joe would have acted a little differently? If a bunch of white students prevented black students from entering the school, or Muslim students, or trans students, do you think Joe would have treated this differently? He'd have the FBI and the DOJ on scene within a couple of hours. And he should. I would support that move because the Civil Rights Act prohibits this type of discrimination. And again, most of these kids don't even know why they're protesting.
What would you say is the main goal with tonight's protest?
I think the goal is just showing our support for Palestine and demanding that NYU stops. I honestly don't know all of what NYU's doing.
Is there something that NYU's doing?
I really don't know. I'm pretty sure they're... Do you know what NYU's doing? About what? About Israel. Why are we protesting here?
Palestine will be free!
I wish I was more educated. I'm not either.
Oh.
I came from Columbia. I was there up at Columbia, and we came down. They said NYU students needed our support. So I came down. I heard there's lots of pops.
At least she's honest, right? And they're not only clueless, but the sense of entitlement is astounding. Did you see what happened when the dean of Berkeley invited law students over to his house?
Tonight, we are gathered here in the name of commemorating our final few weeks as law students.
This is my house.
Tonight is also the last night of the holy month of Ramadan, where millions of Muslims around the world fast, not only...
A protest getting heated Tuesday evening at the home of the dean of UC Berkeley's law school.
You are guests at our house.
Erwin Chemerinsky and his wife, law professor Catherine Fisk, hosting their annual dinner for students.
As Muslim students, we refuse to break our fast on the blood of Palestinian people. The UC has committed sending $2 billion to weapons manufacturers. I know, and we're just giving...
Fisk seen trying to take the microphone from the student, who is also the president of a group called Berkeley Law Students for Justice in Palestine.
You are not welcome. Okay, you can call the police. No, I don't. You can call the police. I'm giving a speech.
Please stop touching her.
The dean in a statement Wednesday saying in part, "I am enormously sad that we have students who are so rude as to come into my home, in my backyard, and use this social occasion for their political agenda." He goes on to say they asked the student to leave several times as seen here.
Just please leave. If you don't want to be here, leave my house.
Is that not insane? Someone invites you over to their house and you stage a protest in their yard. But this is the mentality of these little brats. They're coddled. So when they don't get their way, they throw tantrums. And the professors are responsible. They created these little commies. When they weren't destroying property on campus, they were replacing flags. This is what they did at Harvard. I never thought in a million years that I would see my fellow Americans protesting in support of terrorists. I'm not talking about the people protesting in support of Palestine. I'm talking about people who are protesting in support of Hamas.
Oh, Hamas! Long live Hamas and the rebellion!
Long live Hamas!
We are Hamas!
You're Hamas. Wow. That's a good one. You're what? You're Hamas?
Yes, we're all Hamas, eh?
Do they have any idea how Hamas butchered these innocent people? I'm going to put a link up to another video. It will take you to a different channel. It's a journalist who sits down with first responders and they show her photographic and video evidence of how Hamas tortured these innocent civilians. Please click on it if you have the stomach. They did things that even the Nazis didn't do. Things like burning children alive in front of their parents, decapitating babies in front of their parents, putting babies in ovens and cooking them. Hamas is the first terrorist organization that used sexual torture as a form of warfare. All of this happened on October 7th.
We demand a free Palestine from the river to the sea. And that we stand with the Palestinian resistance and their heroic and brave action on October 7th. And they said, long live October 7th. And we say today, long live October 7th.
Oh my God.
Brave actions? Slaughtering innocent, unarmed civilians is somehow brave? I was there on 9/11. I was a young sergeant working in Lower Manhattan. I was there the day the planes hit and for a long time afterwards. Not only did that attack prove how vulnerable we were, but it was the massive loss of innocent life and the horrific ways in which people died that made that day so tragic. People were crushed to death burned alive, and some decided to jump from the 90th floor because that was somehow a better alternative. That was the greatest attack on American soil, designed specifically to kill civilians. They didn't go after our military, they attacked office workers. And not only did we lose thousands of people that day, but we continue to lose people today because of that exposure. Al-Qaeda used airplanes to attack us. Hamas used paragliders to attack Israel. But the objective was the same. It was to kill as many innocent civilians as possible. In fact, you could say that Israel suffered a greater loss than we did. We lost approximately 3,000 civilians and a population of 330 million. Israel lost 1,200 civilians, but their population is only 9 million. That would be the equivalent of us losing 40,000 people on 9/11. Knowing this, listen to this professor from Cornell talk about how exhilarating it was to watch this attack.
It was exhilarating. It was exhilarating. It was energizing. If they weren't exhilarated by this challenge to the monopoly of violence, by this shifting of the balance of power, then they would not be human. I was exhilarated.
Did you get that? If you didn't think it was exhilarating watching terrorists fly in to slaughter innocent civilians, then you're not human. That's a professor saying this. Is that not disgusting? The schools finally caved and they let the police respond, and in places like Columbia, the NYPD had it cleared out in less than 2 hours, and it is no surprise that most of these people arrested weren't even students.
4 minutes before the bottom of the hour, Fox News alert, NYPD revealing that of the nearly 300 people arrested on Columbia and City College on New York campuses Tuesday, half of those had no affiliation with either school. At Columbia, outsiders made up nearly 30% of the arrests. City College, that number, 60%.
60% were outside agitators, the soy boys of Antifa, which drives me insane because I don't understand why this group has been allowed to destroy with impunity. Even when they're arrested, they're rarely prosecuted. And don't forget, the Democrats not only love Antifa, they deny that they even exist. Check out this short I made.
So I hope this is the end of this hearing, Mr. Chairman, and that we don't have to listen to any more of your rhetorical speeches. Thank you very much. I'm leaving.
She still did not say a negative word about Antifa, nor has any Democrat here. You're welcome to say something negative about Antifa right now.
I think that I've covered the subject quite well. You are not listening.
Okay, she declined to speak, so that is the position of the Democratic Party.
There's violence across the whole country. Do you disavow the violence from Antifa? That's happening in Portland right now? There's riots.
That's a myth that's being spread only in Washington, D.C.
About Antifa in Portland?
Yes.
Sir, there's videos everywhere online. There's fires and riots. They're throwing fireworks at federal officers. It gets crazy, Mr. Nadler.
Somebody's got to do something about Antifa and the left, because this is not a right-wing problem. This is a left-wing.
FBI director
This
said
is a left-wing
problem. White supremacist. Antifa's an idea, not an organization.
Oh, you got to be
not
kidding.
militia.
You can't hide your lying eyes and your smiles.
Why haven't they been dismantled? Why haven't they been infiltrated and their leaders arrested? There has to be a leader. It's because there's no desire to. We got bin Laden in Pakistan. We got Pablo Escobar in Colombia, the world's biggest drug lord. This guy was so powerful and had so much money that he offered to pay off his country's debt. He had so much cash that he burned $2 million just to keep his daughter warm. He was so evil that he had over 1,000 cops killed and more than a dozen judges assassinated. In the end, it didn't matter. We still got him in Colombia. You want to keep it local? Giuliani. Giuliani organized a task force and completely dismantled the mafia. But we can't dismantle a bunch of spoiled kids yielding skateboards? I guess our intelligence just stopped working, right? We hit a brick wall. You did it for January 6th when you tracked down grandmothers who were walking around the Capitol taking selfies. But Antifa, who's burning our cities to the ground, untouched. Why? It's because the Democrats love Antifa. That's why they're denying they exist. And it's not just Nadler or Biden. It doesn't have to work its way up to the White House. When Trump was president, BLM and Antifa were going crazy, even though Trump is tough on crime. That's because crime is fought on a local level. Trump couldn't call in the National Guard. He begged the governors to do it, and they refused. Trump got creative and brought in federal marshals to protect the courthouses. Courthouses were being vandalized, so Trump brought in federal marshals to protect those buildings. And what did the liberal mayors do? Ted Wheeler in Portland, Lori Lightfoot in Chicago, Bowser in Washington, D.C., and of course, the dunce in New York City, Bill de Blasio. What did they threaten to do to Trump? They threatened to sue him.
What are your plans if the president sends in federal police to New York City?
It's an important question, Juliet, but I have to start by saying this president blusters and bluffs and says he's going to do things and they never materialize on a regular basis. So first, we should not overrate his statements. They are so often not true. Second, if he tried to do it, it would only create more problems. It would backfire. It wouldn't make us safer. And we would immediately take action in court to stop it. From my point of view, this would be yet another example of illegal and unconstitutional actions by the president. And we have often had to confront him in court, and we usually win. So hopefully it doesn't come to that, but if needed, we will do that.
Why would mayors go to court to prevent President Trump from bringing in police to stop the rioting? It's because the Democrat Party is owned by the far left, and the far left loves chaos and destruction. Do you know what the worst part about this protest is? Not a single one of them ever mentions the hostages. Did people forget that Hamas took hostages on October 7th? Some of those hostages are Americans. It's been 6 months. Biden doesn't even mention it. And because we have a corrupt media, he's not even asked about it. The only thing he and Kamala ever talk about is abortion. They fly all over the country screaming about the right to kill babies. That's their entire platform. But hostages? What hostages? Let me leave you with a final thought about 9/11. I'm not going to say there was a silver lining that day because it was so tragic, but I will say what eased our suffering was the way we came together as a nation. And some people say that if we're attacked again, we will unite as we did in 2001. I completely disagree. I think it would start a civil war. Because while the patriots of this country would come together, you'd have the far left cheering in support of the terrorists. And we will not stand for that. There's only so much people can take. Look at Chapel Hill. When the terrorist-loving thugs removed our flag from Chapel Hill, some students put it back up, chanted USA, and sang the national anthem. And it's not just Chapel Hill, it's other colleges as well. Because again, how much can we take before we start to push back?
While campuses struggle to get control of their students, at UNC Chapel Hill, they are bringing order back. Students restoring the American flag and singing the national anthem.
Protesters began to take down the American flag, and that's when the guys stepped in.
Patriotic fraternity brothers stepped in and said, "Not today, Hamas."
The group of frat brothers defended the American flag from anti-Israel protesters.
I held the Israeli flag, and they held up the American flag while protesters chanted at us, screamed at us. I was told to kill myself about 50 times, called a white supremacist, a fascist.
They protected the flag for an hour. They were pelted with bottles and rocks.
But they stood strong.
I think the most popular college students right now are the ones at UNC.
God bless those UNC frat guys for taking down the Palestinian flag and putting up Old Glory.
Giving us some hope there that not all college students have gone woke.
They should be celebrated for, and what be more rare is their bravery, their willingness to stand up and exhibit that patriotism and protect America.
All is not lost. In every corner of America, there are many people that love this country.
I'm very proud of these boys and very, very proud that we have parents that are raising good kids like this in our country.
I love America. There are still patriots in this country that actually want to fight and would sacrifice themselves for this flag, this country.
It's good to know that there's some patriotic young men out there supporting the flags.
That should give us hope, right? Not everyone is brainwashed. That's all I got for you on this one. Do me a favor, if you enjoyed this video, please give me a thumbs up, share this video, and consider subscribing. Thank you for watching, and I hope to see you on the next one.
I have never in my life felt so
traumatized, and humiliated and been grabbed in that way in public.